Hey girl, hey, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Misha. Thank you guys for joining me yet again for another review. We are back with a brand new review for The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 18, Reunion Part 1. If you are new here, then welcome. I give lighthearted reviews with a little bit of laughter and a little bit of shade and a whole lot of detail. If you're back for a second or third time, then welcome back. Y'all, please don't hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Share with a friend. Hit that notification bell so that you will be updated each and every time I upload a video. Now, child, let's get into it if we gonna get into it. So when the episode first opens up, they show the set. The set is an eclectic mess, honey. The set looks a fool. Okay, the set is not a set of mine, honey. I don't like it. It's something about it. It just looks thrown together. I don't know. I mean, the colors looked beautiful on the women, but that set, it gave nothing. Okay. So the ladies start to arrive, and Dr. Ken is giving Drew a pep talk. Ma'am, not before the reunion. Child, Drew said, let me call Dr. Ken, honey. You need Dr. Francis, Drew. You and Ralph, y'all need Dr. Francis, honey. Now, talk to Sheree, because she got an inside over there on the Huntsville, Alabama mess of it all. So, honey, y'all all intertwined and whatnot. But I'm just saying, you might need Dr. Francis. Moving forward. So, Andy goes in to check on She by Shin, and child, he hyping her up. Oh, the fashion show. Yeah, you did that. She did something. So Marlo is already trying to backpedal, honey, when he go into her room talking about, I gotta explain myself, I did some in this season. I need to apologize for what I did. Just let me explain myself. And girl, we'll get into it as we get into it. So then he goes in to check on Candy and Kenya and Sonia. So they start to sashay out on stage, right? The dresses actually show up better on the show, okay? Because in the pictures, we all know that whoever photographs them likes to play in their faces. But they actually looked much prettier in person. And if I had to choose who was best dressed in person, it would be Kenya. Kenya looked beautiful. But in photos, I thought Drew looked better. So, it's either here nor there. That's just a side note. So they sashaying on and whatnot. I'm not feeling the seating because why is Sheree and Marlo front seat? Okay. Now, I do remember Candy saying a few seasons back that she didn't want to ever sit in the seat next to Andy because that means you had the most drama that season. So maybe that's what's going on. But really, Sheree didn't bring nothing except sitting outside by that heat lamp. So, I mean, what did she really get? I guess because she closed the show or the season with the, fashion show with the fashions. Maybe that's it. I mean, we couldn't put Sonia up there because she didn't bring nothing but the 4 gold medals. Kenya was, she was real low key this season. Drew and her boot, it didn't give nothing. Ralph and his storybook or whatever he writing, child. And then you got Candy. Candy got into it with Marlo, and I would think that Candy would be in the front because she worldwide and whatnot. And then you have Sheree. So I mean, I guess, but honey, I guess the cast is just something ain't right. Okay, I don't know what it is, but just something ain't right. So Andy speaks to the ladies. Hi, Kenya, the moment more. Hey, girl, hey. Hey, Sheree. He's like, I heard you were booed up. I'm sure. Hey, Miss Worldwide Candy. I am your girl, Candy. So he speaks to her. Then he speaks to Drew and her bone throwing self. And then he speaks to Sonia. So everybody's been spoken to. Now let's get into it. So first up, they start talking about Sonia taking the bone collecting spot from Sheree. So they're all tallying up all these bones that she carried, but the other girls were also collecting their own bones. So honey, they got a tally down at the bottom and it's a tie. So we don't know who the new bone collector is, but Sonia said that she does not want the title. Candy gave it to Drew because she threw the bone at Fatum, but I don't think it would be Drew. That would be Fatum for collecting that bone up off that floor. It ain't gonna be Drew. It ain't gonna be Drew. But since Drew carry around bones, honey, we'll go and give it to her. So Andy is reading a question, and of course, Sheree is interrupting, talking about, yeah, you just couldn't handle Fatum. Because Drew said something about Sheree bringing a chihuahua, and that would be Fatum. And so Sheree was like, no, you just couldn't handle her. Ma'am, Fatum wasn't bringing nothing. So Andy repeated the question, and he was asking Sheree if she knew about the bones that Fatum was collecting from Anthony before she saw Drew. Of course, we all know Sheree finna get ready to lie. She's like, absolutely not. Okay, so what happened? Girl, just stop lying, honey. Just stop lying. She said when Anthony gave her the information, Fatum already knew the information, and she never thought that Fatum was gonna bring it up when she saw Drew. Sheree, you a lie, and the truth ain't in you. You don't do nothing but lie, allegedly. You know dang on well Fatum was gonna bust that out when she saw Drew, because you were pissed at Drew because Drew said you don't pay. And according to this reunion, you don't pay. So I don't understand why you sitting here lying. Girl, moving forward. So then he brought up when Kenya told Sanya that Drew said she didn't have a mind of her own. And Drew was like, well, I'm willing to repeat that because I stand on it. Well, I mean, Sanya is easily influenced. So, I mean, it's not far-fetched. So Drew was like, she's a great runner, but that's all I got for her. Well, baby, what'd she say that for? She was like, girl, a great runner? I have 4 gold medals, honey. I've accomplished a lot. I've been here on earth the same amount of time as you, and you've accomplished mediocrity at best. But. Baby, shots fired. I think Sonya been practicing her reads in the mirror, child. So now we head on over to Sheree and this facade of a fashion show, and Tyrone walk with a limp Gilliam. So they show her package of the season, and Andy congratulates her on the fashion show. And he was like, I shed a little tear. I ain't gonna lie, I was very excited for Sheree. Now the aftermath, honey, that's something different. But I was excited for Sheree. And I know you were excited, honey. You been asking if she wearing She by Sheree long enough. So, he being shady, talking about, well, I went to the website and there were no fashions. She was like, oh, that's because it's launching during the season finale. So Andy asked her about the reunion and her saying the infamous joggers, spring, September, summer. Y'all remember when she said that? So he was asking her if that was embarrassing. He was like, was it humiliating for you? Was it embarrassing for you? She said, well, I was caught off guard because my priorities have always been my kids. So, I just put that on the back burner. Oh, my God. Ma'am, please. Your kids are grown. You had 14 years. Instead of running behind those sweaty Bob trying to get child support, you could have launched She by Sheree. Girl, I don't want to hear it, honey. You just didn't feel like doing it. Just say that. You said something first season and then it caught on like wildfire. You didn't expect for it to catch on. And then people kept asking for it. You couldn't deliver. And then you finally delivered 14 years later. Let's just call a spade a spade. So then he asked if Marlo made her pay for the shopping experience, and she said, yeah, this heifer made me pay. I would have been pissed. Do y'all hear me? Honey, don't invite me nowhere and say you treating me and then I got to end up paying. Absolutely not. So then he reads a question about Candy throwing shade on She by Sheree. Candy was like, I ain't throw no shade, because when you say stuff about me, I'm going to say stuff about you. So Sheree was like, I didn't throw you no shade. Yes, you did, Sheree. Sheree was like, when? When did I throw you shade? Ma'am, I don't have amnesia like Sonya did when Kenya asked her for a rundown of what she's done since. You said Candy sucked D in the locker room. She's only known in New York. She's definitely not worldwide. You had a lot to say. And when Marlo was going off and getting into it as she got into it, you were sitting there and you were co-signing. So how on earth do you not know exactly when you threw shade? Sheree always has convenient amnesia. So they played back her and Marlo talking because Candy was like, one of them is when y'all was sitting outside talking about me. So they run that back. And so Sheree was like, I just feel like Candy has used me for her show, for clickbait, because people want to know about me. Sheree ain't nobody clicking to find out about no Sheree. Okay. This mess you got going on with Hotel and these fraudulent designs is the most that I've ever seen you in the blogs. And I do mean ever. So Candy said, you think I need you for clickbait? Baby, it's the delusions for me. Baby, this is a mess. She's like, well, you do use me every week. So Andy goes, well, Sheree, in interviews, you do shade Candy. Y'all all shade each other. She's like, well, she was commenting on me and Tyrone more than I was commenting on her. Sheree, just own it. Okay, just own it. You've been doing this long enough to know that you will get called out at the reunion. So I don't know why you acting brand new. So then they asked why Sheree shades drop it with Drew when it took her 4 years to bring She by Sheree. And, why does things take so long for her? And she was like, well, I represent fashion, but Drew doesn't represent fitness. Sheree, you trying to body shame Drew, but this so-called fashion you represent can be found on Amazon Prime or in your local Walmart in the t-shirt aisle. Honey, I don't understand why you keep shading this woman's physique. I don't get it. So she was like, well, I do represent wellness. I had a hysterectomy. I can't even bear children. Yes, I did have some work done. I had a mommy makeover to make me feel better. Well, we all had work done. You had your boobs done. You had your butt done. Well, baby, what she say that for? Sheree said, my butt. Bitch, you better get your facts straight. Y'all know how Sheree be talking. Oh, honey, Sheree. And Sheree, I would tread lightly with calling those screen print cricket shirts fashion. Okay? If that's the case, honey, I represent fashion as well. Check out my merch shop, honey, because I represent fashion. Anywho, so Drew is like, well, you had a boob job. So, they going at it or whatever. So then they asked Sheree why it takes her so long to get things done. And is it true that she don't pay her bills? Honey, facts on facts on facts. So she was like, well, greatness takes time. Well, honey, back to the drawing board on those shirts with the wrinkles for sale, honey, because people ain't buying, honey. Sheree, the people ain't buying. They ain't buying you with your face on these $35 planners. Now, I'm going to get one because I like to write down my notes and I want to have something in case the Real Housewives of Atlanta or any franchise wraps it up. Okay? So if it does, I'm going to put that thing in plastic and I'm going to have it for, nostalgia purposes. So I can remember when the Real Housewives of Atlanta was organic. Shout out to Nene. Moving forward. She's like, I ain't in a rush. My main focus is my kids. Ma'am, if you don't start bringing up these kids, all of your kids have graduated college. Please stop bringing up these children. So Andy is like, well, they're fully grown, aren't they? She was like, they wasn't 14 years ago. So Drew was like, so you don't pay your bills because of your kids? Drew, please sit quiet. Sit quiet, ma'am. She's like, I pay everybody that needs to be paid, honey. So that excludes you, Drew. So you and your balloons don't ask for no money because you ain't getting none. So Sheree comes up with a million excuses as to why she doesn't pay people. Girl, let me find out you got bill collectors calling you from Scam Likely. Anywho, so then she gives an example of Marlo saying she wasn't going to pay for her dress because they did a horrible job. Well, honey, at least she's come to terms with it because that dress is awful. Okay, do you hear me? Awful. Standing up, sitting down, left, right, over, under, around, and through. It's awful. And normally Marlo gets it right, but baby, this was all wrong. So Kenya tells Sheree, listen, girl, just because you don't like something, when you contract someone for services and you don't like it, you pay for it. You just don't use them again. Here goes Sheree. So, like when I sign a contract. Child, let's move on. So Andy asked Sheree, why didn't you just say that, you were overwhelmed or caught off guard when I asked you about your joggers or your She by Sheree fashions? Because she got a little iron problem, that's why. So here go Kenya. It's like your house. We just want you to win. Girl. Not like her house. Baby, Sheree is like a turtle, honey. She gonna move slow if she don't do nothing else. So then Andy asks Candy why she uses off-camera information to throw people under the bus. So Candy was like, who did I throw under the bus? If they do something to me, then I'm coming with what I know. So Marlo chimes in because she has some off-camera tea that she wants to get off her chest. And she was like, okay, now tell me if I'm lying. I got a phone call from Todd. He wanted to talk to me about a show. Candy said, honey, hold him up, swallow him up. Marlo, you asked me first about it. You asked me, what could you do? She said, no, I didn't. You're not a producer. You don't produce shows. She said, Marlo, Todd did not just call you out of the blue, honey. We had a conversation. That's why he called you. So Marlo said, well, I would have come to you about music. Girl, not you giving Kim Zolciak, don't be tardy for the party. Girl, don't come to her about no music. Girl, cut the crap. Dang on well, Candy is the one that knows you and was going to help you. And she talked to Todd and Todd called you. So Candy explains that Marlo wasn't on the show for a little while. So she talked to Todd so they could try to get her a show, honey, because she needed some work, honey. She needed some jobs. And then all of a sudden, Marlo gonna switch it to the contract didn't make sense. Girl, you lied. Okay? You lied. So Candy said the reason that she brought it up right now is because she got on the show and said that she doesn't help people. Marlo was like, well, it was Todd because Candy don't produce shows. Now, Marlo, you and your crinoline dress know Candy helps everybody. So why are you sitting here saying that she didn't want to help you? Even Andy said Candy pitches shows all the time. And Bravo Andy love him some Candy. But it is true. We all know Candy looks out for the little people. And regardless, Marlo, I don't believe it was only Todd because even Funky Dineva co-signed and said Candy had pitched the show and that he was going to be on it, as one of the friends or whatever. And you was going to be on it as well when all hell broke loose earlier in the season. Now you're trying to say it was Todd? Girl, goodbye. So Candy is starting to quiver, honey. Her voice starts shaking, child. So it's time to move on, honey, because it's about to get explosive. I will drag you in this. It's time to go. Please leave Candy alone, child. Please leave her alone, honey. So then Sheree interrupts. And she was like, okay, y'all, this is my package, honey. Y'all fussing and fighting, but this is all about me. Child, please let her have this. So Andy switched back over to Sheree, and he asked Sheree about Tyrone being awful in bed because she said that on Watch What Happens Live. And she was like, yeah, I became abstinent because, it was just so bad. I call BS, okay? I think you like those conjugal visits. You like what old Limp was putting down. And as soon as things went left, all of a sudden the sex wasn't no good. And it's going to be the same thing over there with Hotel and his short. And it's going to be the same thing with Hotel over there in his tight breeches. Moving forward. So she thinks Tyrone was using her. Oh, he definitely was looking for camera time. He was definitely using you to put money on his books, to keep him up to date on the outside world, honey, to keep him up to date on his Coogee sweaters, and to make sure that he got a cameo on Real Housewives of Atlanta. And he ain't fooling me. So Andy is like, enough about that. What is going on with your new boo? Oh, child, do we really have to talk about oh my goodness, honey, Huntsville over here in Atlanta. So she's like, he's a nice guy. Andy said, what does he do? Lie and cheat? Oh, you were asking about the profession. My bad. You were asking about the professions. Here goes Sheree. What does who do? The man that you've been sleeping with. Shout out to Kenya. Y'all remember when Kenya said that to Paige, honey, when they were at Fogo the Child? The man that who is Mr. Chocolate? The man that you've been sleeping with. Oh, honey, y'all know I'm going to throw a throwback in there if I don't do nothing else. So, Sheree just repeating the question, honey, to make up a lie in her mind. You know how the liars have to get a little time, so they try to repeat the question. Child, you heard him. What does he do? She's like, well, he's on another show. He does real estate. He has a wine that he just launched. Child, Martell ain't giving nothing. So Andy was like, so there's a question. How could you date Hotel knowing what he did to his ex-wife? Do you ignore the red flags? She's like, I guess we all ignore red flags. No, ma'am, that's not what he's asking. Do you ignore the red flags? Because yes, you do. Ma'am, you have seen that show. Hotel is a bad seed. He is definitely not reformed. And I don't care what nobody say. You can cape for Martell if you want to, but I'm just saying Martell is the same old, same old. So Andy asks what he did to his wife. Here goes Sheree. I don't know what he did to his wife. Well, baby, Kenya did. Kenya definitely filled him in. She's like, oh, he cheated multiple times and then he had a baby the last time. Thanks for coming. Baby, Kenya ain't doing nothing but talking from the sidelines, honey. Child, the Hotel drama has made its way to Atlanta. Child, it's a whole fool. Moving forward. Sheree just moved so messy, honey. Ain't no way I would deal with Martell after how he dogged his wife. No way in hell. She's like, watching the show, I would have never dealt with him because, I really don't go for looks, even though he is a good looking man. Kenya said, yeah, we've met Bob. Honey, I know that's right. And we all know that was a cash grab when Bob was in his prime. Bob be doing all that sweating and had the nerve to cheat too? Oh, no, ma'am, honey. She said Martell is different in person. Girl, it's his representative, but go on, set yourself off, honey. So then he moved on to Drew and Sonia and this imaginary feud that Sonia has going on with Drew. And Andy asks where they stand today. Nowhere. Sonia says she does not have a relationship with Drew. So Drew said, she's confused as to what she did because she ain't never done nothing to Sonia. So Sonia was like, oh, you confused? Oh, okay, so here's the thing. Oh, child, well, at least you can remember this time. So let's hear it. So she was like, Drew has milked this situation and she has played a victim. And so she was like, Drew lied when she said that I never talked to her until we got in front of the group. I did talk to Drew in private. I know, Ralph knows, God knows, the makeup artist knows. Child, we don't really care about all that, honey. Ooh, child. So Sonia is going on and on and on. Child, I'm so confused and unfocused. Sonia is definitely a runner, honey, because them lungs work. Oh, baby, them things work. She is long-winded. Sonia, please get into it if you're going to get into it, girl. Just get into it. So Sonia basically was telling Drew she need to keep it real. And then they bring up Sonia clout chasing off Candy and Kenya's followers. And she was like, well, I invited Drew. And Drew got like 10 followers. So, no, I wasn't clout chasing off of anyone. I genuinely was trying to get to know them. And, I'm just hurt. Drew, okay, you need to stop acting and you need to start being real. Child, it reminded me of the real world. 7 strangers picked to live in a house when people stop being polite and start getting real. Real world, Atlanta. Oh, honey, it is crazy how my mind works. But anyway, honey, she trying to muster up some tears, child. Not one tear fell, honey. I don't know what she talking about. Marlo handing her tissues. Andy talking about Drew. She's crying. Drew said she has tears. Does she? Honey, because I don't see nothing. Baby, the birds chirping and everything. Everybody over it, okay? We are all over it. We don't give a damn. If y'all got a problem, Hash it out some other time. We don't care. So Andy asked Sheree if Drew was a flip-flopper. So Sheree gonna have her nerve to say, well, I don't know about that, but I know she's definitely a liar. Charlotte, that ain't the pot calling the kettle calling the pot calling the kettle. Now on to Marlo and Les Archives with an E. So they show her package from the season. And so Andy asked about her mom and if she got to connect with the boys. And Marlo said, she did, but not for very long. So she starts to get really emotional because she really wants her mom. She says she needs her mom, but her mom just isn't that for her. And she feels like she's all by herself. Well, Marlo, you need to make sure to apologize to Kenya sincerely for what you said about her mom, since you know how it feels. The both of you are in the same boat. And I do empathize with you needing your mom. I really do. But at some point, you have to come to grips with the fact that you may not get the version of your mom that you are seeking. And, you just might have to either try to love her as she is or love her from afar. So she was basically saying, her grandmother also didn't know how to be a mom. So it's just like a generational thing. And she said the girls don't make her feel like she's worthy. Now, I do believe that she feels inferior to the other ladies, which is why she always lashes out. I do believe that. I really do. So Andy asked about when she was 10, and she said basically her mom beat her so bad that she ran away. So she went to several homes, and when she got comfortable, they turned her away. One of the people was abusive. One family she thought was like the picture perfect family, and the woman turned Marlo away because her daughter didn't feel like she was getting enough attention. So that made her mad, and that's why she lashes out. Well, girl, that ain't no excuse to behave the way that you would behave, though. I mean, we've all gone through things, but we can't sit in that. Like, that's even more of a reason people were in an uproar about you getting your nephews and putting them out. Because if you've been put out several times and you remember how angry and abandoned it made you feel, how you think they felt? And Andy, I don't like how you skirted on past that, honey. We needed to discuss that. So baby Marlo spoke a pageant speech talking about, I'm sitting here next to a mogul, a former Miss USA, a Grammy Award winning, song artist and performer, an actress and a singer, a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. I am worthy to be sitting here. Yes, you are, honey. And Sheree ain't hitting on nothing, so you definitely worth sitting here. Child, you are definitely worth sitting here. So Andy asked if getting a peach was a big deal because she wanted to be accepted. And she was like, I just didn't feel worthy, and I felt not good enough when I didn't get a peach. I felt like I was being overlooked. So then he asked Kenya if Marlo was the housewife that she thought she was going to be. And Kenya said no. Instead of showing how great of a heart she is and a friend she can be, she did the total opposite. And I have to agree with that. So Andy's like, well, in New York, she was a great friend. Andy, not too much, honey, and not too much. So Kenya was like, I don't know about great friend. I would use the term loosely. So Marlo was like, yeah, I was looking back at the episodes and, it really felt good. I was laying my head on her. I was holding Brooklyn. So Kenya said, and then you turned right around and weaponized that against me. Exactly. It's like, Marlo, you got to pick a side. Either you gonna try and forge a friendship or get into it every time y'all see each other. Which one is it gonna be? So she was like, Marlo brought up my ex-husband. Marlo said, I didn't say anything about your husband while we were friends. Damn that, bringing up Mark, because we don't care about Mark, honey. We don't give a damn about Mark. What about the nasty things that she said about you being an industry pro? That's what we need to be talking about. So then Andy asked about Marlo's relationship with men. And she said she has daddy issues. And then Marlo said, they call me a whore, but can't name one man that I've ever slept with. Marlo, don't you do the same? She was like, they don't like me because of my fashions. Marlo, it is not because of your fashions. And Andy, since when have you become a therapist? Like, I appreciate Marlo's transparency, but she should have done all this during the season. So now when we see you sit here and spew out all these things, it's like, is this performative? Are you trying to deflect because you don't really want to get into it? Like, what is this? But, the lady said they've never seen her like that, and they've never known all the things that she went through. Like Candy said, she never knew that Marlo moved from place to place. And Sheree said that she's never known what she's gone through on this level. So they understood. But as Marlo was speaking her speech, Kenya was like, no, that's not true. The reason why, and that was the end of the episode. So next episode, honey, we're going to see Kenya, honey. She is coming out and letting us know exactly why it is that she don't mess with Marlo. And it is not because of her fashions. Y'all comment down below and tell me exactly what you thought about the first part of the reunion. I feel like we spent too much time in a therapy session with Marlo. The first part didn't give me nothing. Okay, it gave nothing. But hopefully part 2 is going to pick up and we'll get into it. Please don't hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, spread love, not germs. Peace.